Hey guys, Ryan Schultz here with E39 Source in the Silverstone 2000 M5. Kind of a brief, so I say now, winter update. I stored this car actually not too long ago. Last year I stored it November 7th or 11th. This year it was January 1st, 2016. With El Nino, I guess we were able to get an extra couple weeks out of decent driving season, so I was thankful for that. I did the same storage procedures I did last year, with the exception of a much larger and heavier duty vapor barrier, which serves a few purposes. Tires don't stick to the cement, cement doesn't suck all the moisture out of the tires, moisture in the cement doesn't get up into the car and condense the underside, and then any sort of leaks or fluids that get expelled from this car don't stain my floor. So kind of a quadruple win. But this piece is much larger. I got it at Walmart for like 10 bucks. So large, in fact, that it had to be doubled over along this edge and then in the back, which is fine. It goes all the way into the corner as well. I used the same car cover. I mentioned where I got the car cover last year in my winter storage video. I don't remember right now. I think it was a website, something like California Car Covers maybe, but it fits this car really well. I like that it has the straps on the bottom. There's a lock that I could put across the center. It's inside locked in my garage, so it's fine in here. And then I used the C-Tech, is it the 3300, I want to say. Somebody recommended this to me last year. I bought it on Amazon and put it on there. It is the multi-US 3300 charger that plugs into a very janky electrical connection there, and then I did the eyelets on the battery terminals in the trunk. So it sat from January 1st to January 21st. I had people in town the 21st, they wanted to hear this engine, probably the last time they'll ever hear this engine run. So I came out and I started it, started right up, sounded great, no lifter tick, no Vanos noise on warm start. Only thing is I warmed it up at maybe 2,000 RPM after the first few minutes, and it's doing its usual little carbon spurts out the exhaust. You can kind of see some remnants of that. Really, it's done that since I've owned the car at 143,000 miles, although it has gotten worse in blowing carbon out the back. This is going to be the first part of the video out here in the garage. I'm not going to uncover it. I'm not going to start it, just because I'm headed out of town tomorrow and I don't want to deal with this right now. I've got a ton of packing to do and work with the semester and whatnot. But I did clean everything up really well. I cleaned the wheels. I put a coat of spray wax on it. So the car is very shiny and very clean. I don't really like anything touching my paint, especially a cover. And you can only minimize risk of paint damage with as clean as possible of a car. I also put some newspapers in the exhaust in the Eisenman race, as I did last year, just to keep out any rodents or whatever from, not that we have a rodent problem, but you know, whatever, from crawling up in there, since I won't be seeing these very much over the upcoming months. And the good news is, it's the end of January. By the time I'm back from my little weekend trip, which there will certainly be an E39 Source video, providing that things go well, it will be February. And at that point, I'm really only looking at 4 to 6 to maybe 8 weeks, worst case, that it needs to remain covered. The plan is, when nice weather hits, something a little bit nicer than now, although I can't complain. Here in northeastern Ohio, we've really barely had any snow this season. I hate snow, I hate salt. You can see that there's some snow right there. Grass looks like hell. The street is partially coated in salt, but not nearly as bad as last year. When the weather breaks and the roads get washed off with some rain, I'm taking this car into Lyric Motorsport in Hudson, Ohio, where the current engine, sitting at 191,884 miles, will be pulled out and swapped with a late 2002 build that has largely been rebuilt. I'm going to take you inside in a moment. We'll probably do a screencast from my laptop. I'll show you some of the pictures. There's going to be a whole in-depth video. Certainly not a rebuild DIY, but lots of pictures and video of the process, starting with the arrival of the engine here in Ohio. It came from Maryland. That'll be up on the channel after everything's done. It may go as late as May. But it's really exciting. It kills me to pull the engine out of this car, seeing that it runs beautifully. It sounds okay. It's got its Vanos grumble now, which didn't even start until 160,000 miles, but it did. And that makes some noise now. Really no lifter tick. There's not a whole lot of other noises, I don't think. I keep trying to listen to rod bearing noises. I don't think I hear anything, and neither does my shop. My reasons for replacing And I should say this engine still makes great power. I've driven cars with a third the mileage, and this feels every bit as good. My reason for replacing is I'm moving to San Diego now in about 11 months. Labor there is significantly more money. I need this car to be incredibly reliable and be a daily vehicle for potentially a year or more. And I don't want to deal with issues down the road, so we're doing it now. The engine that's in here will certainly be for sale in perfectly working condition, including a plenum. From oil pan to plenum will all be there. If anybody is interested in that, drop me a comment, email me, ryan@e39source.com, whatever fits you. I'm going to head inside. We'll talk a little bit more about the engine rebuild progress, and I'll show you some pictures. Okay, welcome to part 2. I've got a bunch of pictures on my desktop here. I don't know what order they're going to come up in when I open all of these. So we're just going to go ahead and do that, and it'll be a little bit of a story time here with some visuals, so prepare yourselves. Looks like it starts from the beginning. So this is the engine that I purchased used. It has 122,738 miles on it, or 732, I think. It is a June of 2002, so fairly late 2002 production. I was happy to find the newer one. Just the internals are going to be a little bit fresher, certainly less miles than mine. Facelift piston ring design, good or bad, I think it's a good thing. There's less oil consumption, less oil blow by, so those are good things in my book. It was delivered on a skid, as you can see here, packed quite well. I'll talk more about the logistics, all this in the later video, but it was decently clean. There's a little bit of the salt deposits down on the oil pan, but everything else looked pretty good, as you can see, inclusive of a plenum and fairly new upper oil return hoses, as indicated by the stickers still attached to them. Another view. In the bottom left corner, you can see that I am also replacing the differential. Mine is original at 191,884 miles. This one is from a 2003 E39 M5 with 48,000 miles on it. And Adam replaced the seals in it. So new seals, much newer differential. There's no rust on this one. The paint's in great shape. My reason for replacing, I've noticed that my clutches don't like to hook up. It's a limited slip differential. The clutches don't like to hook up, so you get the one tire fire sometimes. Sometimes they hook up great, so I'm not sure what's up with that. They're probably just old and worn out. So instead of taking all the time to send it somewhere and have it rebuilt, I just got this one that is, 48,000 miles. Come on, it's not even half spent. So that'll be exciting to put that in there. We'll move on. Another shot of the differential, stock 3.15 ratio. So here's in the exhaust ports of the engine that I bought. I think it's cool that it is engraved with, it's got S62 written on the side of it. You can kind of get a view of the exhaust valves in there. There's definitely some carbon on them, but if you Google S62 carbon buildup, you're going to see a lot worse than that. You can still clearly see that that's a valve. If you Google S62 carbon buildup exhaust valve, you're going to find these valves with what looks to be black popcorn, big chunks of bubbly black carbon around them, and it's disgusting. So all of this is going to be cleaned anyways. As I go through these, I'll kind of tell you what's being done to this engine. Every rubber piece of gasket, every seal, every piece of rubber or gasket or seal inside the engine is being replaced. Here we can see what appears to be a oil pan gasket. That looks like a water pump gasket. Lower timing cover. Is that a rear main seal maybe? Anything rubber in this engine is going to be replaced. It's all apart. Of course, being inclusive of the head gaskets. More potentially timing chain or Vanos gaskets there. This would be a timing chain. I'm doing the timing chains, the chain guides, the chain tensioners, the cam timing chains. All of that's being done. This one I thought was funny. The original customer was Raza from RK Motorworks, which I talked to him on the Facebook E39 M5 owners group about, and apparently he ordered one, sent it back, didn't need it, it went into residual stock, and it happened to be the one that I got. They got the engine up on an engine stand. As you can see, oil pump or oil filter housing is hanging. Once the heads came off, we got a good look at the block and the pistons. There's definitely some carbon on the top of the pistons. They said that's completely normal for a engine with 120,000 miles on it. All of that is the block and the heads are currently in a machine shop where everything's being checked, cleaned, polished. The block is not being honed. It's an elusile block. You can't really hone it. I'm not sleeving the cylinders, and I'm not replacing the piston rings due to the ridiculous cost that it requires to do that. Loss of compression from piston rings does not seem to be an issue with this engine. My shop has all but guaranteed me that it will not be an issue with this engine. I also need to mention that while the block is in the machine shop, They are obviously replacing the rod bearings, the main bearings, and some upper bearing, I believe. So obviously those are things that should be done while an S62 is taking apart, and don't worry, those things are being done. So it'll come back with new main and connecting rod bearings. The cylinder walls, they said look great, which is obviously good to hear. They didn't notice any scoring or any bent rods. You would have a second carbon layer in there, so it's good that we don't see that. Everything appears to be in good shape with the block. So here's the table with everything taken apart. It's kind of overwhelming, and if I said that I wasn't nervous at this point seeing my engine in a million pieces, I would absolutely be lying to you. All of these bolts that hold the heads on, all of those are going to be replaced. These oil rails are going to be replaced. I mentioned timing chains, guides, gaskets. I'm going to do the pulleys while I'm at it. Probably the power steering lines. The Vanos units themselves, solenoids and the splines. The solenoids, I think Vanos issues on these cars are kind of overhyped, but both Vanos units are in Texas currently at Dr. Vanos, where the splines are being machined for less noise, and the solenoids and the O-rings, solenoids aren't being replaced. They're being checked, cleaned. If the solder gaps need to be resoldered, they're solder them, and new O-rings on the Vanos. So the Vanos should come back about as close to new as you can, which will be exciting to put in the car and take a listen to how that sounds. So I'm excited about that. So here's the heads. They said the heads appeared to be in great condition. It's an engine that's had oil changes of 1060. In its early life, I've got service records on it. It was 530 per what a 2002 S62 would specify on the sticker under the hood. And then the most recent owner, aside from myself, used, I want to say, Liquimoli 1060. Which is fine. I prefer the 1060 oil. I'll probably break it in on 530 the first couple thousand miles, and then switch to TWS. I like the Castrol TWS. If anybody sees that or thinks that would be a bad decision on my part, let me know in the comments below. My shop doesn't really think it matters. They say clean oil is the best oil. Just go with what works. They did recommend breaking it in on the lighter weight 530, just seeing that that's what it was designed for with those piston rings. So you can see the cams here. Not really too much buildup of goop on any of that. Again, everything's being taken apart and cleaned. I'm not replacing the valve lifters. I drove to Maryland to hear this engine before it was removed from the car that it was originally in, which, by the way, was a 02 carbon black with a full leather luxury black interior. When I listened to that engine, it had a lot of lifter tick from sitting for, I don't remember, 6 or 8 weeks. It had just been sitting there. It only ran for a few minutes. It didn't go away. I've been assured by pretty much everybody that once it has the opportunity to run, warm up, be pushed a little bit, the hydraulic lifters will open up and that tick will disappear. Replacing them is ridiculous. Everybody's pretty much told me it's unnecessary. I would have to do the camshafts as well. I'm not signing up for that. Failing lifters don't seem to be an issue, although many of them do tick after they don't run for a while. Mine doesn't. Mine sits for 3 months and it's quiet when it starts, so I don't know why. But that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. So here's the block. You can see the timing chain and the chain guides. The chain guides, they have 122 on them. They're original 2002. I looked at them. I tried to break pieces of plastic off of them, and I can't. The M62, the 4.4 V8 found in the E39 540, the E38 740, the E53 X5 4.4, and I think those are the only BMW. I know that some Land Rovers have them. I think those are the only BMWs with the M50 or the M62. Those seem to have more timing chain guide issues. And my thought process behind that is this engine's designed to run at about 79 degrees Celsius per the bare OEM thermostat. The M62 runs at something ridiculous like 110 degrees Celsius. It is baking every piece of plastic in there. It's a design flaw that these things are plastic in the first place. Don't get me wrong. But with the lower running temperatures of the S62, I think they do seem to last a little bit longer. That being said, that they are in good condition, I'm certainly replacing them, seeing that it's this easy to do at this point. There's a nice nerd close-up of the timing chain in between the camshafts, and I am going to do that tensioner in between the camshafts. You can see the intake ports here, pretty clean. This is the oil pump. Well, the oil pump is out. I am leaning towards replacing the chain and the chain tensioner, which is this black plastic thing here. I've been told that's good. Also, the tube, which is in this photo, has some sort of a gasket here, and it's been recommended to me to replace that part as well. So I'm probably going to do that. These are the disassembly pictures. Nothing had been cleaned yet. All of this stuff is going to be machine cleaned. They find anything wrong with it, it'll be done, and then new gaskets and sealing compound or whatever is used in there. So I'm really excited to get this thing back. It should run, drive, sound, and feel like a new engine. So it's very exciting. People are going to ask me what it costs. Please don't. Honestly, I don't really know yet. I have a good idea, but as we get more involved into this progress, we find little parts like the oil pump chain that is the same chain as the one between the camshafts that, while we're in there, should just be replaced as preventative. I don't want to deal with 3 years down the road my oil pump going out, and when that happens, it's bad news for everything on top of the oil pump. So we're just going to do it now and get it over with. This is a crazy project, and I realize that I'm putting many, many, many times this car's value into it. And if you think that I'm going to turn around and sell this thing in the next decade, you're wrong. Another picture of the engine put together, a couple in here. As I said, the block and the heads are at a machine shop right now, being cleaned and checked, and valve clearances. I'm going to do valve seals. When they come back and the Vanos comes back, all of that, assuming everything checks out okay, will be assembled with new gaskets, and the like. Here's the throttle bodies, new hoses, obviously fluids, and then put back together. So the goal at this point is to have the engine put back together by sometime in late February, early March. When the weather breaks, drive the car in there. I would love for that to be in the month of March, and they're going to have it about a month. In that month, they're going to pull the existing engine out, install the new engine. While the transmission's down, I'm going to do the clutch, the pressure plate, the flywheel, the throwout bearing. While the drive shaft and the exhaust is down, we're going to do transmission mounts, transmission fluid, the new differential mounts, E60 545i short shift kit, and all the bushings, the Jubo, the center shaft bearing, the flex disc, that's the Jubo. Really, any piece of rubber in the drive line is just going to be replaced. The car has 191 on it. I know that the flex disc was done at about 140,000 miles, but it's been 60 almost, so might as well just do it again. So obviously it is a gargantuan amount of work. I'm really nervous, but I'm also extremely excited to get this car back, hopefully sometime in April or May, and then have it essentially be reliable and ready to go for the next, 100,000 miles, I would love to say. God forbid anything goes wrong or something happens. But that is the update. So you'll see more of these pictures and some video of this process along the way in the future. I thought I'd give you an update as of January 28th, 2016. Please leave your constructive comments below, and we'll talk in a future video. Thanks, guys.